We are going to start the audit quality management, the SLSQM 1, SLSQM 2, and after that, SLAUS 220, and the audit management framework for the national level. So, right, framework for audit quality. So, with that note, let me start the SLSQM 1. So, previously we had SLSQZ1, Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Control 1. It is replaced by these SLSQM 1 and 2. The Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management. So you can see the SLSQM 1 applies to all firms, audit firms that performs audit or reviews of financial statement. This is audit and non-audit services, because audit firms are providing audit assurance and non-assurance services like agreed upon, and the compilation services. For the SLSQ QM1 applies to all firms that perform audits or reviews of the financial statement or other assurance related services. We call non-assurance services like related services, right? The key distinction between assurance and non-assurance is the crest. If the crest is satisfied, all are need to satisfy this assurance. If it is not satisfied, it's a non-assurance, right? If the firm performs any of these engagement, SLSQM1 applies to managing quality of those engagements. Under SLSQM1, firms are required to design a system of quality management. Design, this is important. Firms are need to design a system of quality management to manage the quality of the engagement performed by the audit firm, right? The SLSQM1 and 2 replaced by, I told you, SLSQM1 from 15 December 2023, but in globally it is adopting in 2022. We are deferred for 1 year time period. So the objective, what are the purpose of SLSQM1? Give me 1 minute. The purpose of SLSQM1, what is the purpose? The objective of the firm is to design and implement and operate a system of quality management to provide it with reasonable assurance that what is the objective? There is a two objective: the firm and its personnel, the engagement team or the surrounding people of the personnel, which is relevant to the audit engagement, comply with professional standards and applicable legal and regulatory requirements, SLAs and the Sri Lanka accounting standard. They are in line with the code of ethics and the applicable legal and regulatory requirements. Legal and regulatory requirements, and reports issued by the firm or engagement partners are appropriate in the circumstances, right? It is impartial and free from bias. Components, this is highly testable. What are the components? Elements of the firm's quality management. This is a highly examinable topic. What are the elements or the components of the firm's system of quality management? They are in previous SLSQC1. We have how many elements? 6 elements. But in here, it is 8 elements. The system of quality management operates in a continual and iterative manner and responsive to change in the nature and the circumstances of the firm and its engagement. SLSQM1 consists of 8 components to operate in an iterative and integrated manner. These 8 must be remembered. Need to cut apart, right? The firm's risk assessment process, governance and leadership, relevant ethical requirements in code of ethics, acceptance and continuous of the client's relationship and the specific engagement performance. In here we in detail we are direction, supervising, review, consultation, right? Resources, we have 3 types: human resources, intellectual resources, and IT resources. IT information and communication, and the monitoring and remediation process. If we dispute, how to remedy those things, right? So with that note, the firm's risk assessment process, one by one, we are going to discuss further in detail. Firm's risk assessment process. SLSQZ M1 requires the firm to apply risk-based auditing. Risk-based auditing, we are not going to everything 100%. That is why we are not providing absolute assurance, or rather than absolute, we are providing a reasonable assurance. So we are carrying out audit based on the risk-based auditing. Risk-based approach in designing, implementing, and operating the components of the system of quality management and in an interconnected and coordinated manner. The risk-based approach are embedded into the requirements of SLSQM1 through established quality objectives. It means we are establishing quality objectives Establishing quality objectives means simply to ensure that professional skepticism is properly maintained. We are establishing a quality objective. This is our quality objective. We need to ensure that our professional skepticism is properly maintained. So we are providing report is appropriate. All judgment are appropriately used. The professional judgment which we are using is appropriate to the given circumstances. Then identify the assess the quality risk, right? Identify and assess quality risk. After we establishing the quality objective, we need to assess quality risk. What are the risks? Lack of resources. Sometimes we don't have such sufficient and competent staff to carry out the audit engagement. Lack of technology, inexperience over there. Some areas we are not that much experiencing, like bank auditing. Likewise, the complex things we are not that much experience. Design and implement responses. If the risk is identified, we need to design appropriate things and we need to respond for that. Engage external expert if we are not expertise in that particular area in carrying out the audit. SLA 500, 620, the auditor's expert can be used. Engagement quality review, EQR is mandatory for the PLC's audit. So you can think and write those things, right? So the engagement team, what is the engagement team? So we have in every audit firm, it has a engagement partner, engagement director, engagement manager, sometimes senior managers, engagement supervisors, engagement seniors, right? Other staff, it means trainee, associate 1, 2, likewise. We have different the firm, but engagement part is a mandatory, right? Establishing quality objectives. So we are going to discuss in detail the quality objectives established by the firm consist of objectives in relation to the components of the system of quality management that are to be achieved by the firm. The firm is required to establish the quality objectives specified by SLSQM1 and additional quality objectives considered necessary by the firm to achieve the objectives of the system of quality management. This is the SLSQM applicable for the firm level, right? Later we discuss. We have firm level, 3 tiers, firm level, national level, and engagement level. The SLA US 220 is discuss about the engagement level. This SLSQM 1 and 2 discuss about the firm level. And audit quality framework is discussed about the national level quality, right? We have 3 tiers. For the establishing a quality objective, the quality objectives established by the firm consistent of objectives in relation to the components of the system of quality management, that are to be achieved by firm. The firm is required to establish the quality objectives specified by SLSQM 1, Sri Lanka Standard on Quality Management 1, and any additional quality objectives considered necessary by the firm to achieve the objectives of the system of the quality management. So I told you after establishing, we need to identify what are the risks, associated risks in we are achieving the quality. To achievement of the quality objectives, the firm is required to identify and assess and qualifier is to provide a basis for the design and implementation of the responses. I told you lack of resources, lack of technology, inexperience over certain things, designing, and after we identify the risk, we need to design a suitable implementation to the responses to address the quality risk. The nature, timing, and extent of the firm's responses to address the quality risk are based on and are responsive to the reasons of the assessment to given the to the quality risk, right? To governance and leadership, we are discussing one by one, right? We are 8 elements. The second element, every audit firm need to have a leader. We call as a managing partner, not engagement partner, a managing partner. The SLSQM1 introduced the most robust governance and leadership framework. In the country also, we need to have a leader, no? To the firms and its address among other matters. The firm demonstrate a commitment to quality through a culture. Commitment to quality through a culture that exists throughout the firm, which recognizes and reinforces the firm's role surviving the public interest, the firm's role in serving the public interest by consistently performing quality engagement, the importance of the quality, the firm's strategic decisions and actions, including the firm's financial and operation priorities. The role and responsibilities are accountability of leadership. justify the roles and responsibilities and accountability of leadership qualifications, and undertaken performance evaluation by leadership annually. The engagement performance is important. Engagement performance, the firm should take steps to ensure that engagements are performed correctly. Engagements are performed correctly, that is in accordance with the standard and guidance. Ensuring good engagement performance involve direction, need to direct, supervisors. That's why you have a supervisor, need to review. Supervisor reviewing your work, and the managers are reviewing supervisors' work, and senior managers are reviewing. Finally, go to the partner consultation. If you have any dispute among those things, you need to ensure the appropriate consultation in taken place, and the resolution of dispute. If we dispute, how do we resolve those matters, right? The firm should have policies and procedures to determine when a quality control reviewer will be necessary for the engagement. This is mandatory for the PLCs, the public interest entities. This will include all audits of the financial statement for listed companies. Detail are discussed in the SLSQM 2 and SLA US 220 revised in detail. Resources in previously we are talking about SLSQZ1, SLSQZ1, the human resource, but this is narrowed down to the broader to the three things resources. The three categories of resources are there: human, technological, and intellectual resources are there. SLSQM1 explicitly deals with the resources for service providers. A firm should consider what resources are needed, whether they are appropriate, and how they are used and maintained. The human resources. So you know that under the human resources, the first firm should have policies and procedures to ensuring excellence in its staff, to provide the firm with reasonable assurance that it has sufficient personnel with capabilities in order to execute the audit procedures in a correct manner. Capabilities, competence, relevant knowledge and experience, and commitment to ethical principles are there. These will cover the recruitment, capabilities, career development, CPD, compensation, performance evaluation, competence, promotion. Sorry, competence, performance, promotion, the estimation of the personal need. The assignment of the engagement is an important matter in ensuring the quality of the individual assignment. The engagement partner should ensure that he assigns staff of sufficient capabilities. The engagement partner should ensure, right? The engagement partner should ensure that he assigns staff of sufficient capabilities, competence, and time to individual assignments, so that he will be able to issue an appropriate report. Information and communication. Formation and communication. The SLSQM1 emphasizes that continual flow of information within the firm and the engagement teams, and derives firm to establish an information system. Need to communicate, right? The firm culture needs to embed the need to exchange information. It should communicate with external parties when it is appropriate, includes management and those charged with governance, about the system when the firm performs an audit of the financial statement of listed entities. The monitoring and remediation process is important. Monitor, need to monitor. Proactive monitoring, not reactive. It's proactive, proactive monitoring of the quality management system as a whole, and timely and effectively remediation is need to for a quality management system. Evaluating of the system quality of the management should be carried out on an annual basis. Evaluation of the system of quality management should be carried out on annual basis. Leadership should evaluate whether the system of quality management is achieving its objective. Firm should take further actions if the conclusions are unsatisfactory. If the conclusions are unsatisfactory, the firm monitors the system as a whole. The firm tailors the nature, timing, and extent of the monitoring activities based on the factors described in SLSQM1. Inspection of the complete engagements, evaluate the finding, identify the after we monitoring, we are identified some deficiencies or weaknesses in our system. SLSQM1 includes a framework of evaluating, finding, and identify the deficiencies, and evaluating the severity and pervasiveness of the deficiencies, how it's impact to our audit. The firm required to investigate the root cause for such deficiencies. What are the issues for such deficiencies arise? Design and implement responses. The firm appropriately remediates deficiencies that is responsive to the root cause. Leadership is required to determine the remedial actions are effective. Right? Correction action includes right? Corrective action includes remediation action with an individual, communication findings with the training department. If we identified after we monitoring the our engagement team is does not have a relevant competence, we can inform it to the training department, change in the quality control policies and procedures, disciplinary action if necessary, some disciplinary action if necessary, right? Those things can be done. SLSQM1 engagement quality reviews. This is the engagement quality reviews, right? If we are carrying out the engagement audit, what is the quality reviews? Engagement quality review (EQ) is a specific response designed and implemented by the firm to address quality risk. An engagement quality review is an objective evaluation of the significant judgments made by the engagement team and conclusions reached thereon. SLSQM2 addresses the scope of the engagement subject to EQ review, engagement quality review, the appointment of the eligibility of the engagement quality reviewer, EQR, the EQ review's responsibilities related to the performance and documentation of the engagement quality review, scope of the engagement subject to EQ, listed entities mandatory, audit of the other engagement, which is EQ reviews, is required by law regulation. Sometimes law required the engagement need to monitored by EQR auditors, audits or other engagement for which the firm determines that an EQ is required based on the firm's policies and practices, eligibility criteria for the EQ reviewers. As per SLSQM2, EQ reviewer should be competent, capability, sufficient time, including sufficient time. You need to have your some time in these areas and authority to perform EQ review, comply with the relevant ethical requirements, including objectivity and independence, comply with the provisions of laws and regulations relevant to the eligibility of the EQ reviewers. SLSQM2 cooling off period is 7 years. So you know that in code of ethics, you after you become a partner for continuous 7 years until next 5 years, you can't take that audit or you can't be a part of that audit, right? SLSQM2 requires cooling off period is 2 years or longer period required by relevant ethical requirements in code of ethics before the engagement partner can assume the role of EQ reviewer. It also permits to use the suitably qualified external EQ reviewers to the use of the assistant, right? Right. So nextly this is examinable, right? Here it is examinable. This area is examinable. Let I use green color, the auditor's color. A quality control review for the listed entity will include a review of the engagement team's evaluation of the independence towards audit. If they are independent of engagement team, whether appropriate consultation have been taken place on whether appropriate consultation have been taken place on difference and of opinion continuous matters and the conclusions drawn, whether the audit documentations for selected review reflect the work performed in relation to the significant judgment support conclusion reached, the significant risk identified during the engagement, judgments made are appropriate, significance of the corrected or uncorrected misstatement identified during the audit, matters to be communicated with the management and those charged with governance, a review of the financial statement and proposed report, discussion with the significant matters with to the engagement partner, right? Evaluation of the conclusions reached in formulating the auditor's report and consideration whether the auditor's report is appropriate, right? Those things need to be there. Other important points, it also requires EQ reviewer to stand back to determine whether the performance requirements SLSQM2 is fulfilled. SLSQM2 also precludes an engagement partner from dating the engagement report until notification, until you get the clearance from the EQR, right? The engagement partner cannot sign the audit report until he get the clearance from the engagement quality reviewer. The stand requires firms to establish policies or procedures for the EQ review to take responsibility for documentation of the EQ review and the documentation of EQ review to be included within the engagement documentation, right? The EQ should be peer review. It's a review and audit file carried by another partner of the assurance firm. We have 9 partners, let's say Creston. Another partner is reviewing one partner's EQ as a EQR, right? Hot review means peer review carried out before the audit report is signed. Before the audit report is signed, the EQ is carried out. The cold review means after that. Peer review carried out after the audit report signed. I think best one is the hot review because before the audit report is signed, right? right? We will discuss these two in separate video. Thank you.